The crystalline walls of the Zephyrian command center hummed with energy as General Krexthul stood before the holographic display, his 6 arms gesticulating wildly at the tactical readout. 3 solar systems had fallen to the human advance in the past cycle, and the proud military leader of the galactic hegemony was beginning to understand why the Council had been so concerned about this upstart species from the outer rim. "Impossible," he hissed through his mandibles, the sound echoing off the chamber walls. "They have no quantum shields, no plasma cannons, no gravitational disruptors. How are they defeating our fleets?" His aide, a nervous Tellurian with translucent skin, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, perhaps we should review the combat recordings again." Silence. Krexthul's roar shook the room, causing several junior officers to flinch. The general's reputation for ruthlessness was well earned across 17 conquered civilizations. That's when the human prisoner was brought in. Commander Sarah Chen walked between her captors with her head held high, her simple gray uniform torn but her bearing unbroken. The electromagnetic restraints around her wrists crackled with energy, designed to subdue even the most resilient alien physiology, yet she moved as if they were mere jewelry. Krexthul turned his massive frame toward her, his obsidian eyes gleaming with predatory satisfaction. At nearly 3 meters tall and covered in chitinous armor-like skin, he was an imposing figure that had reduced countless enemy commanders to gibbering terror. But the human merely met his gaze with steady brown eyes that seemed to hold depths he couldn't fathom. "So," Krexthul rumbled, his voice amplified by his species' natural resonance chambers, "you are the one they call the Ghost of Kepler Station, the architect of our defeats at Proxima and Wolf 359. Sarah said nothing, merely tilting her head slightly as if genuinely curious about where this conversation might lead. The general circled her slowly like a predator sizing up prey. "Your fleet is scattered. Your home world is surrounded. Your species faces extinction, and yet you maintain this defiance. Do you not understand your situation?" "I understand it perfectly," Sarah replied quietly, her voice carrying despite its low volume. "The question is whether you understand yours." Krexthul's laugh was like grinding stone. "Amusing. You stand in chains before the greatest military mind of the hegemony. Your pathetic species on the brink of annihilation, and you dare suggest I am the one lacking understanding." He leaned down, bringing his terrifying visage close to her face. "Your resistance ends now. You will broadcast a surrender order to all human forces. You will reveal the locations of your remaining strongholds. You will provide technical specifications for whatever primitive tricks you've been using to delay the inevitable." Sarah looked up at him with something that might have been amusement dancing in her eyes. "And if I refuse?" The general's massive frame straightened, his 4 secondary arms spreading wide in a display of dominance while his primary arms gestured toward the torture devices being wheeled into the chamber. "Then you will experience pain beyond your species' capacity to endure. Your mind will shatter, your will will break, and you will obey." The room fell silent except for the hum of alien machinery. Every being present could feel the weight of the moment, the collision of 2 implacable forces. This was how civilizations fell, in rooms like this when their champions were finally broken. Sarah Chen smiled. It wasn't a large smile, barely a curve of her lips, but somehow it transformed the entire dynamic of the chamber. The human took a small step forward, and somehow the electromagnetic restraints didn't seem quite as significant anymore. "General Krexthul," she said, and her voice carried a quality that made even the battle-hardened alien pause. "I think you fundamentally misunderstand what humanity is." She gestured with her bound hands toward the holographic display still showing the tactical situation. "You see our ships and think they're primitive because they don't have your quantum shields. But what you don't realize is that we don't need shields when we're willing to ram our vessels into yours at full velocity." Krexthul's mandibles clicked nervously. "You look at our weapons and call them simple because they fire metal projectiles instead of energy beams. But you haven't considered that those simple bullets can punch through your hull plating at relativistic speeds. Or that our primitive nuclear warheads can be disguised as cargo containers and hidden among asteroid fields." The general's obsidian eyes were widening now. Sarah's smile grew a fraction wider. "And most importantly, you think torture will break me because that's how your species works. You evolved from hive-minded creatures where individual will could be subsumed into collective purpose. But humans?" She shook her head slowly. "We're persistence hunters, General. We're the species that chased mammoths across continents for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We're the beings who looked at the vast ocean and decided to cross it in wooden boats. We're the creatures who stared up at the stars and said, "Those look interesting. Let's go visit them." She took another step forward, and this time Krexthul actually backed up. Every human child learns the same lesson in our schools, that our ancestors faced extinction from ice ages, supervolcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues, and countless wars with each other. "And you know what we did each time?" Sarah's whisper carried to every corner of the chamber. "We adapted. We survived. We grew stronger." The general's breathing had become labored, his proud bearing wavering as the reality of what he was facing began to penetrate his consciousness. "So when you roar your orders at me," Sarah continued, her voice never rising above a conversational tone, "when you demand that I obey, when you threaten me with pain and death and the destruction of everything I hold dear," she met his terrified gaze directly. "Make me." The words hung in the air like a challenge issued to the universe itself. In that moment, General Krexthul, conqueror of 17 civilizations, terror of the Outer Rim, supreme military strategist of the galactic hegemony, realized that he wasn't facing just another enemy commander. He was facing humanity itself, and humanity had never learned how to surrender.